Chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 150. Yes, 150 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live. I think that deserves another. No, that's not funny. That's supposed to be applause. I mean, it is fun. I mean, we've been on longer than most shows, like Voldy said before. But without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty Z, etc., and all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota. Or excuse me. Oh, my goodness. I did it. Well, I was like, I said to myself,
how dare
I'd
you?
probably do it once. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Vault, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
150 episodes. That is just crazy to think about where we are in the world currently, that we have reached 150 episodes. And talking about us having more episodes than some great shows of all time, let's run down a few of those. Star Trek, the original series as well. DuckTales, believe it or not. Other shows like The Sopranos. We have more than The Sopranos, if not twice as much. They only had 86 episodes, believe it or not. 6 Feet Under. Looking at The Wire back in the day as well. I'm talking Battlestar Galactica, Veronica Mars, Entourage as well. Didn't even make 100 episodes. Prison Break, Dexter, Mad Men, Breaking Bad. We have more episodes. We have almost 3 times as many episodes than Breaking Bad ever did as well. Sons of Anarchy and many, many more that I could probably run through, but we'd be here a long time if that were the case. But this show lasting longer than some of those critically acclaimed shows. Well, we don't need critics to say that we are acclaimed, because we're here week in, week out. We're doing our thing here. You know, a few breaks every once in a while because, well, unfortunately, this show doesn't pay the bills. But, you know, we got to do what we can. But here we are, episode 150. And we've got some exciting news coming up here, too, as well.
We very much do. But before we get into that, the funny part about this whole thing is we don't need all the hoopla on the socials media.
Nope.
We do get the hooplas,
on
social
every once
medias.
in a while.
But we got the zoners. That's all we need, and we give claps out to the zoners. Perfect segue. Since this is the 150th episode of MinneZona Sports Live, Voldy, you had the idea. I think it's a fantastic idea. For those that are tuning in right now, and for those that are tuning in later, or, it depends. I mean, you can be tuning in live. You can tune in, 10 days from now. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
We're doing a giveaway. We're giving away some awesome merch to you, the zoners, because 150 episodes, you have been through thick and thin. You've been through all the internet connection issues, all the awesome guests that have been on. You've been through 100 episodes, 50 episodes, the whole deal. We're going to give away some merch. And Voldy, you have the merch with you. We have still our limited edition shirt that will be available. For all of you that tune in, we will reach out to you, and you will be officially put in as your name will be in a hat, and we'll all I'll be picking names out of a hat, see who's gonna win some cool merch, and also the hat. I mean, we gotta get more. Folks. Yeah, we really do have to get more with the hats.
We do, because this is the last one.
Yeah,
this is the last one.
That's the last one. So we got some cool merch coming your way. Just make sure. I mean, whoever's tuned in on this show. Yeah, and the stickers. I mean, for goodness sake, we got the stickers. We got fantastic stickers.
Bang.
And if the shirt isn't the right size, don't worry. You can either give it to a family member, you can give it to someone else. You can also say, hey, maybe I want to swap it for the hat or something like that. Or some stickers. Whatever you want to do, we will make that happen. So, we still have the limited edition gray t-shirt. We have the hat. We have the stickers. So, we are going to gather names, and we'll make sure we put that in a hat, and we'll pick out of the hat.
You know what? I'm feeling pretty generous, Matt. Why don't we do 3 winners? Not 1, not 2, not 5, not 6, but 3. Let's do 3 winners for this giveaway.
Okay. 3 winners. I like it. Let's go with that. 3 winners for the shirt, the hat, and stickers.
There you go.
We'll make it happen. I like it. So, for those that are tuning in right now, comment away if you want to be entered in to our giveaway, and we will reveal next week. So make sure you enter in. Let me know. I'll talk to some people, obviously, because I know you want merch. I mean, who doesn't want merch? And
gotta have it.
We love it, and we appreciate it, too. So without further ado, Voldy, we have our special guest.
We do.
And it was a heck of a time talking with him again, our guy. Alex Zappa. Zappa was fantastic again. We talk about this Wolves season. It was I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, we'll kind of go through it. Voldy will, or myself and Voldy and Zappa kind of talk about it. But also we're talking about the Lynx. They just started up. They're 0-2 right now. But they're still,
start.
like we touch on, a little bit of rebuilding here for this for the Lynx because, we'll see how things go with them. But it's a really good interview again. Zappa's on point as always. I apologize for the salty line. No, I'm just kidding. It's fun. You guys will enjoy it. Zappa's on point as per usual. So without further ado, we're gonna let Zappa do the talking, and you guys enjoy, and we'll keep up. And like I said, you guys can enter in for the giveaway. We'll put names in a hat, give it to you. So, all right, here it is. All right, welcome back to MinneZona Sports Live. We are back with our good friend, Alex Zappa. He is back again. Zaps, we brought you back a second time because we got to talk about these Wolves and the Lynx starting up. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, it's a true honor to be a reoccurring guest at this point. I'm alongside two studs. I'm just trying to fit in as much as I can, and I'm excited to talk some hoops because it's summer. Why not talk hoops when it's summer? Giddy up.
Absolutely.
Giddy up. Let's go. So, Zaps, we got to talk about these Wolves, man. Finish off the season 42-40. They do make the playoffs, losing 5 games to the Denver Nuggets. There's a lot that's been talked about in this offseason. Obviously, the Rudy Gobert trade. People are saying this is the worst trade in history, but we're not done yet. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then there's been talk about Cat too. Like, is he going to be here? Is he not going to be here? And is this officially Ant's team now? So let's start off, Zaps, with the Rudy Gobert trade. A lot of people on the socials medias, as we like to call it here on MinneZona Sports Live, have been talking and saying, like, this is the worst trade of all time. What's wrong with this Wolves team and whatnot? What are your overall thoughts on, Rudy Gobert this season? And, I mean, where are some areas do you think that he can improve on here?
I'll tell you, I mean, I remember being on this show and saying I loved this trade. And now I got to take a little bit of my medicine because it didn't turn out great so far. Now, and Matt, you said it. It's not done with. We still have some room to tread as far as where things go. I think the biggest surprise was how good Walker Kessler was immediately, right? Like, I mean, I think obviously, if Tim Conley thinks that Walker Kessler is going to do that, you don't make that trade. So Walker Kessler, I think he finished top 5 in field goal percentage. I think he finished top 4 in blocks per game. And I mean, he beat Rudy in both those categories and played, I think, 30% less minutes. So you have to tip your cap to Walker Kessler, but also, like, we drafted him. So I'm also kind of proud of us. Like, I mean, he was probably the 3rd best rookie this year. I think he finished 30 rookie. Here's the thing that the thing I missed, and I think most people missed, is how much you have to cater your offense to a player like Rudy Gobert, and how, I mean, D'Angelo Russell, it's been reported, did not get along with Rudy Gobert very well.
Right.
We sent him out for, I shouldn't say we, I'm not a part of the Timberwolves. They sent him packing for a reason. And I would say a lot of that was locker room based. On the court, sure, but also in the locker room. It was reported that D'Lo would be commenting very loudly about how Rudy missed this pass or this dunk. And it seemed like, you don't pass it to Rudy on the block 4 possessions when you should have. And then the 5th time when you do is the one time you shouldn't have. And then it's a turnover. Right. And so it just, the luck of it didn't go our way. I think Rudy at 30 years old this past season showed diminishing athleticism for the first time ever. I mean, he's coming off a defensive of the year performance. And I mean, you think of, like, we signed Joe Mauer to his big contract after the MVP season. He goes to first base in a couple years. We trade for Jimmy Butler, and then all of a sudden he's cussing out our franchise players in practice within 9 months. Like, we finally invest in an NBA superstar, defensive star, I would say, and then it's the year that he doesn't fall off a cliff, but starts to regress a little bit. And so, I mean, it's so Minnesota sports. Again, I want to say it's not done yet, but it was fairly alarming how Rudy Gobert's defense did not live up to what we expected. And then his inability to be the force he has been on offense, his defense did not make up for that. His defense was average, I would say, this past year. So it's tough. It's really tough. But we're paying him a lot of money, and he's still a good asset. Not nearly the asset that we traded for, but the guy works his tail off. He's in great shape. I know he wants to be good and be prolific in this sport, which again might sound kind of obvious, but there's a lot of players in the NBA that are just happy to be there, that don't aspire to be great. He is one of those guys. He puts in the time and the effort. So is he in a position for a comeback year? Yes. But this also feels to me a little bit like Roy Hibbert on the Indiana Pacers, where all of a sudden his ability was just irrelevant. And I think league is going to a place with its positionlessness that a player like Rudy Gobert is starting to lose his value. And so we'll see what Finch and the staff do this year to adjust. But there needs to, we saw that from this last year, there has to be adjustments. He has to get better.
Right.
And at 31 years old, will he come back better? That's a very interesting question.
You know what's interesting about it too is, like, I've watched a handful of games, and there are times where he was brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. And you're like, oh, okay, I see why they traded for him and whatnot. But then there's games where he's almost disappeared and whatnot, and his defense isn't as good, and that's why they brought him in and all that stuff. So, you know, there's a lot of factors into it. But I also want to, you know, address obviously the big one towards the end of the season, the altercation between Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gobert.
Yes.
You know, I almost think heat of the moment, I feel like all of us at some point, heat of the moments, you know, you say some things that you regret and whatnot. But knowing what we know with Rudy Gobert and how things went with him and D'Lo and whatnot, I mean, is this something that we should be concerned about with the future, with Gobert kind of being people not liking Gobert and things like that? Or is it just Kyle Anderson, you know, kind of slow-mo kind of being, you know, like what kind, that relationship seemed kind of, you know, not great, but at the same time, they apologized and things like that. But down the road here, I mean, do you foresee this kind of being a locker room problem here? Maybe, you know, going into next year?
You have a really interesting situation where Kyle Anderson comes in, was not a starter to start the year, making what I think $13-14 million. And with the Towns injury, he became arguably one of the fundamental players we needed to play well to win games. And so all of a sudden you have Rudy Gobert, who's making more than 2 times as much as he is, who is the reason we're losing some of these games.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a battle of egos, right? Kyle Anderson doesn't give a crap about any of that. He doesn't care how much you're making. He doesn't care what they traded for it. He wants you to try hard. He wants you to be in the right position. He expects you to do your job. And Rudy Gobert in that situation messed up. And Rudy's pride, I think, got in the way, along with Kyle's. Kyle should not have pushed him that far in public, but it was Rudy's inability to submit to that criticism that caused that whole thing to happen. Now, 3 games later, it's Kyle Anderson throwing Rudy Gobert a lob and he's dunking it, and they're pointing to each other. 4 games later, Rudy Gobert misses a free throw and they need him to make the second one, and Kyle Anderson is putting his head to his head and putting his hand on his chest saying, I got you. And so to your point, this is sport. It's the heat of the moment. Guys get past this. The thing I will say, that's, you know, why I'm in my position a little bit behind the scenes, is Rudy's an interesting guy. And he's European. His social media is very interesting if you follow it closely enough.
Right.
And so he is very unconventional. and he doesn't necessarily have the same culture or flow or vibe that a lot of American players have. And that's a conflict point. You saw Donovan Mitchell get pretty sick of him by the end of his time in Utah. Like, there was a lot of conflict there. And so I think Rudy's maybe the thing he might need to check with himself is he walks really tall. I mean, literally he's 6'7", 3".
Right.
But he has this air about him that's, I'm a 2-time defensive player of the year. Like, I'm great.
Yeah.
Whereas the teammates say, you can't handle a bounce pass. So there's this discrepancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the conflict comes in, is Rudy, and rightfully so, thinks he's this amazing player, and he is. But these American players who aren't making as much as him, who aren't as famous as him, who haven't won as many awards as him, get frustrated when the guy's missing dunks, get annoyed when he's not doing his one job, which is to get across on, we need that weak side block. Why aren't you stuffing the guard that beat me to the rim? That's your job, Rudy. Mm. And so, long story short, I think you need to leave feelings, in the locker room. And when you get on the court, you got to play. And Rudy Gobert competes most of the time really hard. But to what you said kind of earlier, Matt, there were a lot of games where at halftime, he's got 2 points and 3 rebounds and nothing else. Right. And we're down by 11 points. So I think it's a bigger issue than just Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gobert. I think it's really a disconnect between the value Rudy sees in himself and what the other players see. And there needs to be some sort of reconciliation of who you are, and what your role is, and how we're going to interact with each other. So it is something that is going to be interesting. Is Rudy, this is actually a really good point. He's somewhat turning into a Russell Westbrook, where you used to be great, like a Carmelo Anthony. You used to be fantastic. But how are you going to respond when literally your role needs to decrease because if it's increased, it's detrimental to the team? Mm-hmm. And that's what I think the players saw. And I think Chris Finch, along with this front office, felt compelled to give him the benefit of the doubt, felt compelled to play him into the ground so he could hopefully figure it out. And after 90 games, he just didn't. So does he come off the bench? Would he come off the bench? I think readjusting our expectations, unfortunately, of who he is, not only us as fans, I think also the media, and then also the Timberwolves organization is going to be really important. How do we see him going forward? And if we leave behind the past and just look at this player right now, what should he be? How many minutes should he play? How many touches should he get? That's the really interesting thing that's going to come into this year, and how Rudy Gobert handles that and how the team handles that, I think is going to be very indicative of how the 2023-2024 Wolves operate this year.
And again, we haven't even touched free agency or anything like that too. So I mean, it's crazy, but that was absolutely well said too. Now here's another name that we need to bring up here, and it's quite prominent. A lot of people on the social medias, again, Karl Anthony Towns. You look at with the playoff situation. He's been in the playoffs. He's been in round 1. They've exited in round 1 a lot. And a lot of people kind of point the finger at Cat sometimes, whereas he's only getting kind of somewhat similar to the Gobert thing, where it's like, okay, he's only getting 10 points and 4 rebounds, a game. And it's like, what's going on here? Do you think, and, whether or not that Cat should be dealt this offseason, where if they deal Cat, then the organization is saying, this is Ant's team. And I feel like there's almost these butting heads in some way a little bit, because you're paying Cat to be the guy, but Anthony is coming right up too. So,
and they've always said it too, right?
Yeah.
The organization, until about halfway through this year, was extremely clear about, this is our franchise player. And then that started to stop. Voldy, not to cut you off, Matt, but Voldy, when we talk about Karl Anthony Towns, what do you think of him as a player? Is he a superstar to you? Is he a fan favorite to you? Do you like him? As someone who is not super close, what's your take?
Right.
I'm genuinely curious.
I feel like if we were talking Karl Anthony Towns like 3 years ago, I would say he's definitely a fan favorite. But now it's like at the point now where he's missing more games than he's actually playing. Yes, injuries are a thing too, but you throw in as well the fact that he's not producing at the level of what he once was. And of course, he goes out and wins the 3-point shooting contest, the All-Star game. Hey, that's great, but how's that going to translate into wins that we need to get past the play-in games, let alone getting into the playoffs as well? Hey, that's great and all, but what are we going to do to try and make a playoff push beyond that? Now it's just we're at a kind of a boiling point right now. It's like it's kind of a put up or shut up kind of moment right now with him. And I mean, you go into this off season too with the possibility of him being looked at as trade bait. And I mean, at this point, you ask me right now if I would lose any sleep if Karl Anthony Towns got traded. No, I personally wouldn't. But I'm not emotionally invested in the Timberwolves as a lot of people that probably watch this program, if not, in the state of Minnesota too, or just Wolves fans in general. But I mean, that's just my 2 cents about it. I just really think now we're just like, yeah, he's great, but like, what else can we maybe translate into moving forward, especially with this new ownership group that wants to put their stamp on something, as opposed to the old regime. This was kind of their calling card too, as they're kind of send out like, hey, we drafted Karl Anthony Towns, but like, A-Rod and Mark Laurie are looking at like, maybe we need to, kind of cut bait here and try to land the big fish, if you will, too.
I love that. I think I will say this: the fans do still really respond to him at Target Center. I think fans, the fan, and they love Ant too. And they're kind of different loves in a sense. I think the interesting with Karl Anthony Towns is, first of all, for his size and his position, the things he's done is unprecedented. I mean, he's averaging basically 50-40 for his career. Like there's guards that don't do that. And his rebounding has diminished a little bit, but rebounds are a little bit fluky in my opinion. It's a lot about effort and timing and circumstance too. So, the thing so I just want to get that very clear that offensively, he's one of my favorite players to watch in that. He's basically unstoppable because at the top of the key, if you give him space, he's going to shoot a 3, and that's one of the best shots in basketball. A Karl Anthony Towns 3-point shot is one of the best shots in the NBA. Printed. If you get close to him, he's going to drive past you if it's a center. And if it's a smaller guard, he's going to body you. Now, here's the problem. He's going to body you too much, and he's going to get an offensive foul. And so the thing with Karl Anthony Towns that we've seen in the playoffs, you think of Memphis last year where he was frankly bad, very bad. Denver series, he was actually really good. Like we needed his scoring. I thought he played very well. He still does not have at his age, and will it come, an ability to eliminate bad decisions. And it's the simple things. Nikola Jokic doesn't get in foul trouble. Want to know why? Because his team is totally screwed if he does. Towns does not have a championship mindset as far as what it takes to win games at crucial moments. And he isn't a guard, so he can't affect the game in that way as frequently at the end of the games. And then when he does get the ball, I find him panicking a lot. And I find him reverting to moves that if the defense is playing smart, they're going to lure a foul out of him. They're going to flop and they're going to get the call. So I think the reason the trade buzz is happening very loudly is because for the first time ever, we could trade him and fans wouldn't get pissed off because we have Anthony Edwards. Like you couldn't do this before. Like, okay, then we're in the worst team in the NBA. That wouldn't happen if we traded him now. So that's one thing. I think the second thing is his value as far as what we would receive is potentially greater than what his value actually is. And that is not an indictment on Karl Anthony Towns. It's simply his contract, his ability, and what other teams would be willing to give up to get a franchise-esque player like he is. Now, I think Portland is really interesting. You're telling me you give us the 3 pick. You also give me maybe throw in Anthony Simons, maybe Yusuf Nurkic, and then you give me 2 other first-round picks, and I'm guaranteed to get Scoot Henderson or Miller out of Alabama, I don't know what I would do. So it's very frisky. I love Cat. I think he's gotten criticized for kind of always saying the right thing and not maybe having good intent. Well, guess what? I want a player that says the right thing. And he has never once asked for a trade. You've never heard that rumor. From day one, he has always said he wants to win here. And that means something to me. As a fan, I've been a fan my whole life. We have a star that wants to be here. Yeah. And he has a humongous chip on his shoulder. But again, let's talk about disconnects. Karl-Anthony Towns wins the 3-point contest. And what is he saying? I told y'all. I told you so. I told you. And instead, who likes that guy? You know, who likes the I told you so guy? I want someone who wins humbly, who lets other people kind of be like, oh, you know, he was right. Maybe he was the best shooting big man. You don't want someone to tell you. So he has some maturing to do. He has some basketball IQ to pick up still along the way. And I think his defense is average. And so can your offense be great enough to surpass what your deficit is? And I thought it was very, you know, we played Denver. Look at what Jimmy Butler as an 8th seed has done. Jimmy Butler has taken Jason Tatum's lunch. Guess what? Jason Tatum finished 4th in MVP voting this year. Okay. Any series, anything can happen. I was expecting Cat to do 35, 15, and 2 and take Nikola Jokic out of the game. Like, I thought that could happen, but it didn't happen. So can Karl-Anthony Towns be a Jimmy Butler where, okay, regular season, whatever, we do what we can to get in, but then I'm great. And I would say Towns is almost the opposite of that, is from what we've seen in his career. Great regular season player, great stats, but when the pressure gets on, he hasn't played his best basketball. That can change any year, anytime, any series, but that's why the trade rumors are circulating, because you could get a great price for him. It would reset the franchise. And after losing 4 first-round picks to Rudy Gobert, you could get those all back. So it's never made more sense. What the Timberwolves decide to do is very indicative of what they think of how quick they think they can win. And looking at the Western Conference, a Lakers team that to me is average, going up a Denver team that is great, but in my opinion, beatable and not nearly the caliber of the Western Conference teams we've seen come out in recent years. Think of Golden State and all those teams. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know he's a great player. I know he wants to be here, and I would miss him because he's a very special player. He's a very unique player, but at the same time, what you get might be more valuable than what he is, and that's a decision Tim Conley and Chris Finch are going to have to make.
So let's move on to these Lynx here. They're starting up their season, my friend, and you are quite excited. I could tell from the Bally Sports North social media account, you were pretty stoked and getting the fans ready to go. So what are your thoughts on the Lynx coming up this year and whatnot? A little bit of a work in progress, would you say, with this Lynx team, Zaps?
It is. They're on the rebuild for sure. I mean, Sylvia Fowles is gone after a historic career and WNBA all-time leader in rebounds. Won a handful of championships. Pretty good. Nafisa Collier, one of the most exciting players in the W, is back after being on maternity. She did play 4 games towards the end of last year, but it really just to hopefully push us into the playoffs, which didn't quite happen.
Right.
We also got the number. I mean, Cheryl Reeve had her first losing season in 7 years. And so we got the number 2 overall pick, and we got Diamond Miller out of Maryland, who is a freak athlete. She is immediately a plus defender. And the question, and I've talked to Cheryl Reeve about this, is can we get her an offensive package? She's a little bit of a freestyler out there. She kind of takes every shot. And if you look at the NBA or the WNBA, the best players have a package. They have about 6, maybe 5, 6 fundamental shots that they take. And when you watch players warm up, they practice these shots. So for Diamond, it's what are my go-to shots? How do I score consistently? In the preseason, she shot 32%. In the opener, she was 3-9. We needed to be better than that. So it's really exciting to have a high draft pick. We haven't had one of those in forever.
Yeah.
And the thing with the W's, I mean, there's the super teams, right? The Aces are coming off a championship. They have Kelsey Plum, one of the best point guards in the league. Jackie Young is one of the best guards in the league. Aja Wilson's one of the best centers there. Gray is one of the best veterans in the league. You got the Liberty, who got Ionescu, and then they also added John Quill Jones and Brianna Stewart. So in the W, there's two incredible teams. I would say the Connecticut Sun and the Mystics are kind of right behind them. And then there's a humongous middle, and we are a part of that middle. So the opener, or the home opener, I was at that game. You referenced it, Matt. We won 3 quarters. Guess what? In the second quarter, we scored 3 points. And that is the fundamental problem of this year's team, is we don't have necessarily bucket getters. Nafisa Collier is a great player. She's a great all-around player. I would not say she's an elite ISO scorer. Now, she's great at that, but it's something that she's going to have to work at. She did not shoot the ball very well in the opener. She had 5 turnovers. It was a bad game for her. Now, again, she's on the comeback trail still, but she looks great. Physically, she looks closer to the player we saw in 2020, 2021. Jess Shepard's a really exciting center that had a great year in her 3rd year last year and can build off of it. Rachel Bannum started the opener, former Gopher, former Lake North Panther. Now she had 0 points. She also had a terrible game, and she would be the first person to tell you that. Tiffany Mitchell, a veteran who we brought in after 6 seasons with the Indiana Fever, she had a terrible game too. I think she had 2 points. So our point guards, I think, put up a total of less than 5 points. So that can't happen.
Right.
But the thing I want to tell fans is this is a very exciting team. This is a very young team. This is a team that's going to work really hard. And Cheryl Reeve is going to coach the out of this team. I mean, in the preseason, she was losing her mind. And I love that from Cheryl. So it's a really cool fan base. If you haven't been to a game, please go to a game at Target Center. It's such a unique experience. Basically, you get a lower bowl ticket. You can sit anywhere. It's really a free-for-all. It's very cool. It's so friendly. I mean, you see and I'll be honest, it's a very LGBTQ plus crowd. But there's young families. Okay, I see a couple bros hanging out as well. It's a very welcoming group, and it's an organization that really cares about their fans. And the president and the GM will be in the stands during the game talking to fans. They're not up in a suite. Okay, they're not in their back offices. They're in the community there with these people. So it's a great organization. It's a great group of young women. And I have a lot of hope for this team. They're very good people, and they have talent. Can it be synchronized? Can they sync it up together? That's going to be really interesting. Because, Matt, to your point, this will not be the year, but this could set the precedent for what I think could actually be next year. So how good can they be this year? Who's to say? And then again, 2 years ago, the Chicago Sky crashed into the playoffs with a 500 record, and they won the dang thing. So you're always an injury away from all of a sudden you're competitive in a 4-versus-1 series as far as seeding is concerned. You just got to get to the dance. So that's the reason to follow this Lynx team this year. They have a real opportunity to make the playoffs. And if they do, all bets are off. Again,
Well, I'm sold. Voldy, how about you?
I mean, I definitely need to. I have no more reason whatsoever than to get to a game down at the Target Center to check out the links for sure.
Now, don't burn
Let's
it to the ground with the
yeah. D'Lo's gone. That's fine
Yeah,
now.
that's
So.
true. So a little backstory to that, Zaps. When we first started the show, and when the Wolves were in talks to get D'Angelo Russell, there was a lot of Photoshop D'Angelo Russell
Bad
Wolves.
Photoshop.
Yeah, bad Photoshop, excuse me. And Voldy said, if I see one more bad Photoshop of it, I'm going to go to the Target Center and burn it to the ground. So, in case you were wondering.
well, if there's an arson attack, I will plead the fifth because I never heard anything. I never heard anything. So that's okay.
Exactly.
There
Perfect.
you go. Well, I'm going to throw it over to Voldy for some rapid fire.
All right, so we got a few things here. kind of touching back with the Timberwolves this season too, and if maybe just interview from this whole season, there's like maybe one moment you remembered talking to a certain player or somebody involved of, with the Timberwolves that you kind of look back as maybe that was an interesting moment, or just that just stands out in your mind.
Yes. I mean, off the top of my head, the Timberwolves this year had a really great event at the downtown Target, where every player on the active roster was matched up with a kid from the Boys and Girls Club, and they got a $500 gift card and they got to shop around. Now, there's a bunch of media, there's a bunch of people here, and I'm kind of tooting my own horn here, but I have to, is that Anthony Edwards, who I've, again, interviewed the past few years on Media Day, we had him on Wolves Plus, the show I produce, like you build relationships with these people. And so he comes off the elevator, he's with all the guys, there's all these people, and he sees me, and I kind of give him a nod, and he came over and he dabbed me up, and he's like, "You good?" I'm like, "I'm good." And then whenever I would, Matt, you mentioned for Bally Sports North, once a week, I'll kind of go to a game and I'll do some behind the scenes stuff. Mm-hmm. And he would always just kind of give me a nod and say, "What's up?" So I think more to your point, Voldy, Anthony Edwards being someone who, look at his Instagram. He's not posting every week. The guy barely posts every month. Like, he does not care about being a star.
Right.
He cares about being a great basketball player. So just little small things like there's a humanity to him that is very important and very meaningful. And so Anthony Edwards' development this year and ability to be great, and also his defense in that Denver series was crazy. Yeah. So Anthony Edwards, for me, is the guy. Like, I love him to death. I think he's supremely talented, and I think he is someone I'm excited for. And this was supposed to be rapid fire, and then I think I just did about 2 minutes, so I apologize. But shout out to Anthony Edwards, great dude.
So hopefully this answer will just kind of come off the top of your head. Which superpower would you rather have, the Jaden McDaniels punching power or Ant's chair throwing ability?
You know what? Give me Jaden's very scrawny arms and the lethal density to those punches in that muscle. Like, oh God, Jaden McDaniels, holy moly. But again, the guy cares. He cares too much. Okay.
Yeah, this is
true.
You
love to see that passion. That's a positive spin. How about that? You love to see the passion.
Yeah. You love to see it one way or another. How many years until the ownership group of Alex Rodriguez, Mark Lore wins the title here with the Timberwolves?
Oh man. I'm gonna say, and this is bold, I'm gonna say within the next 8 years.
8 years.
Because it's all about Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards, if he stays here, is going to win a title at or before 30 years old. I have a lot. So as long as Ant is here, that is my time bomb. And I think before he's 30, I would be shocked if we are not in an NBA Finals. And I think if Anthony Edwards gets to an NBA Finals, I think he's doing the Jordan. I think he's doing the Joe Montana. I think he's going to have a perfect record. So, Goldie, give me 8 years. 8 years till we win the whole dang thing.
I love it. I love it. And also, we kind of briefly touched on a couple of names with the Lynx, but is there one or two players that we should definitely be keeping our eye out this season with the Lynx to maybe make their big splash or maybe make that next step with this group?
I mean, it's obvious, but I think Napheesa Collier, if things go right, she could win an MVP award. So I think that's something. Does she become a Deladon? Does she become a Brianna Stewart? Does she become an Aja Wilson? That's what the track she's on. Diamond Miller's the number 2 overall pick, and she's just going to be really exciting to see and play. And then I'm going to say the hometown girl, Rachel Banham, like Minnesota zone, like high-end shooter. I think she was the 4th overall pick in 2016. Like, was
Maroon
drafted,
Mamba.
Yeah, was drafted to be, and that's a great pull by you, Voldy. I forgot about that. Her and Kobe were like legitimately friends before he passed away. Shouts up to Aiden before. So I'd say Banham, Miller, and Fee, all for different reasons, are very and then I'm also going to say this. Nina Milic was a 28-year-old rookie last year. She's like our kind of backup center, but the fans love her. She's really tall, very strong, and someone who I just think is really sneaky and could be a real huge advantage coming off the bench, and someone that you just love. Like, she doesn't even speak great. I mean, she can speak English, but not great. Like, we would, and this is kind of behind the curtain, but we would want to interview her, and the PR department was just kind of, she's not quite ready yet. And that's okay. Like, perfectly cool. But so give me those 4. And then the other 8 as well. I like everyone on the Lynx team.
Everyone. And it kind of answered the question a little bit with the Timberwolves. So you think the Lynx will win a title before the Timberwolves do with this maybe this the group that they've got right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I think honestly, I think the Timberwolves are closer. Now, the difference is there's 30 teams in the association. There's 12 in the dub. So
True.
it's just statistically, it's much easier. Cheryl Reeves also done it. It's an organization that's done it. So actually, let me backtrack that. I think it will be the Lynx. And I'll tell you why. I think if he stays, Diamond becomes a great player. We're one big free agent away from being a top contender. So give me the Lynx. Give me the Lynx in the next 6 years. Why not?
I like it.
Mark,
That's all I got for. That's
Sharpie.
what I got. I like it. I love it. That's all I got for rapid fire.
We're
Awesome.
marking it down. I love it. All right, one last thing, Zaps, before you go. How's the acting career? Where are we at with that, my friend? What do we got?
So Mary Kiss Cam came out on Hulu this past winter. So you want to see a very average Christmas movie? Go check it out. I filmed an indie movie this winter that is coming out at some point. I don't know when or where. I did a TV pilot last summer that called The Wedding Show that I just went in and did some ADR for, which is basically voiceover for scenes that they're trimming, or if they couldn't understand what I was saying because I slurred my words or something, they had me redo it. So that will be done soon, and that's going to be shopped around, and that could get picked up by a streamer. But I'll tell you what, Matt, it's been a little cold lately. No movies on the horizon. I have not booked anything. But that's still the dream. I did produce a short film that I'm in the process of editing. We shot that about a couple months ago, hoping to get that into festivals this winter. But that's still the dream. I mean, I love sports and I love acting. And I think between the two of them, I want to be close to them forever. But thank you for asking, because it's new for me, but I love it. And it's been so fun. I've had some cool opportunities, and I hope I can get some more.
Yeah. But Zaps, we appreciate you coming on, talking some Wolves, talking some Lynx, and probably have you on again here soon, because you came up pretty close in best guest from last year as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, you're starting off pretty hot in 2023, my friend.
I'm on the revenge tour. I'm coming for that tournament. I need to win, and
do
I'll do anything to come back on. And low key, I was late. I was late for this. Lizzie and Matt waited for me because they're legends. I totally dropped the gun. I was playing pickleball. I took a long shower, and I was, I think, 13 minutes late to this. So I appreciate the fellas staying up. I love talking to you guys. You guys are the best, and I'll do it anytime, anywhere, any place.
All right, Zaps. We'll talk to you later, my friend.
Peace, guys.
Oh, wasn't that fun? You know?
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Well, the thing is Voldy, we're having this play, and now we got all these chats going on. All of a sudden, Munson's coming in here. We got Seymour chiming in. We got Alex A chiming in here too. I mean, for goodness sake, what did we do? Well, it is episode 150, so there's been a lot of back and forth. But my favorite comment out of all of them right now, Voldy, has got to be what Alex put on here. He said Munson must be like Cat in the playoffs, non-existent.
I love it. Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh, that was brilliant, Alex. Shout out to you. That was good. So make sure you guys check in the chat. We got some good ones for you. Before we get into top 10 and famous list, Munson brought up an interesting thing. Since we were talking about Cat, we were talking about Rudy Gobert, and he asked, we keeping Cat and Rudy this year, which I don't know, depends on where you're at with things, I feel like, and I would think at least one, if not, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept them both, but that's just how it is. Cat for Scoot and Simons. Alex says Cat for Dame, and then pay Bruce Brown a ton of money in the offseason. Bruce Brown, he would be great with Ant. We got a ton of people to play. Can't afford Bruce Brown. And then Alex says there's only one best guest out there. Yeah, the thing is who's currently holding the title right now? That's kind of my thing. I think we all know who that is. But Munson's got to get on the comeback train for 2023. So, and it's interesting what happens when someone doesn't have to cheat. So there's that. I had to throw that cheap shot.
Stuff the ballot box a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. All right. So Voldy, we got top 10 and famous list, and the zoners are probably wondering, Maddie, why are you wearing a Cleveland Browns jersey? Well, here's the good news. Johnny Manziel, he's going to be in the Hall of Shame with infamous Jameis. So, without further ado, let's get things going with our top 10 infamous list.
Here's the list no one wants to be on. Infamous Top 10.
All right, so our top 10 infamous list. Voldy, there wasn't much movement, but
really wasn't. Yeah,
we're feeling good about our lists.
Yeah,
we made a couple changes, so we got that going for us. Seymour says Munson is always 50-50. Yep, that's true. Astros title still counts. Well, yeah, I'm not saying.
Of course it does.
I'm not saying yours doesn't count. What I'm saying is our current title holder is Double Trouble. They're 2-time champs.
2-time.
They're very good, and we got a lot of best guests right now. We have Troy Stoudemire, I think, is probably gonna coming in hot for this year. Zappa's out is gonna be in it, and again, you got to beat the defending champs, which is Double Trouble. So, Jameis is still trying to eat W somewhere. That's true.
Somewhere.
And he's actually with the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, that's right.
So he still is. He's just a backup to Carr or something. So whatever. Cole says, I'll see you at the Gambler later, Chris. Cole goes, Double Trouble is 2 people have to split the vote.
They'd still get the votes, unfortunately.
That's a good one. It's not unfair, technically.
It's not.
You'll be cheating me out of my title. How? You explain that to me, huh, Mr. Ricky Rubio apologist. You tell me. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, Voldy, let's get to our list.
All right.
Starting off, here is the reveal. There's really not much movement going on.
Not really.
I'll go with mine here, then I'll give it to you, Voldy.
Okay.
There's a couple changes. So at number 10, I put on, you see it in parentheses, Scam Duel. Now, FanDuel, people kind of look at as this place where you can, make bets, get money, win, and all this stuff. Oh, that's great.
Right.
But, man, the tweets that they've put out have been just terrible. I mean, there was, when the Vikings drafted Jordan Addison, they tweeted out what Jordan Addison would do, or what he will do in practice when Kirk Cousins overthrows him. And it was the video of Antoniobrown running out of the Jets stadium when he was with the Bucs. I mean, do you even watch football? Do you even make? Right. I mean, when has Kirk overthrown? So I'm sure he has probably a handful of times, but he's one of the most accurate passers out there. And you're going to say something along the absurd statement along the line that Kirk Cousins is going to overthrow Jordan Addison? No. You obviously aren't watching Vikings yet. You're just listening to those trolls on social media, the Kirk Cousins haters that are around. So, no, that's why I'm calling them Scam Duel. They did a ranking of the top 10, or the top 5, I think it was, actually. Top 5 NFC quarterbacks. And they had Kirk behind none other than Daniel Jones. Daniel freaking Jones, who didn't have that great of a year either. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's ridiculous. So anyway, that's why I have Scam Duel up there at 10. Number 9, Kyrieirving. We haven't really heard much from Kyrieirving lately, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, but I think he still deserves to be on this list because you never know what he's going to come out with next. So we'll keep an eye on things there. But let's get to the zonas. Cole is like Jokic. People didn't vote for him because of voter fatigue. Oh, there's that.
And he's white. You white, you Ben Affleck.
Yeah, well,
That's how it works.
Yeah,
Dang
well,
it.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. But, you know, it is what it is, I guess. So then Seymour says there's plenty of audio of Thielen and Diggs when Cousins doesn't throw them when they're open. Well, I feel like a lot of quarterbacks do that too, but that's just me. But Double Trouble's like Embiid. When they get votes, I'm there when it counts. Well, Cole, you think too highly of yourself.
Yikes.
Watson should be higher also. Well, let's explain that. Let's just move on to that for a second here. The reason why he's a little bit lower is because we haven't really heard anything from, or, you know, obviously what he did, obviously, it was ridiculous. But the reason why he's a little bit lower now is because we haven't heard much. This is kind of like, there's some current to this. And the thing is, I mean, Deshaun's definitely probably going to be in the Hall of Shame at some point. So if you see him off this list, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's completely, off this whole list or anything. So he'll be in the Hall of Shame. But just know that. So number 7, Greggwilliams, Sean Payton. You all know the deal. I don't need to explain it. You all know the reason. We'll just go with that. Number 6, this is the last time you will see Johnny Manziel on this list. He will be in the Hall of Shame, and we congratulate Johnny Manziel on that feat. Johnny, we appreciate your contributions to MinneZona Sports Live. And also thanks for, I bought the jersey just because it was on eBay and it was very cheap. So I'll say that. But, Johnny, I think it's time. But at the same time, too, you know what? I think you're enjoying your life. Good for you.
Absolutely.
But obviously your NFL career is down the toilet. So, but there's more to that we'll get into at some point when we do like a Hall of Shame segment. So number 5, Urbanmeyer, obviously still on this list. Really haven't heard much from him. He'll probably be off the list, but he'll probably be immortalized into the Hall of Shame as well. So keep an eye out for that. Number 4, Antoniobrown, another name that will as well. And number 3, Aaronrodgers. Ever since he kind of went to the Jets, there really hasn't been much, but just you wait. He'll say something controversial. He's talking about the jerseys for sure or something like that. So, which is fine. I mean, that is a fun show to watch, I will say. So I do agree with him on that. Number 2, jamorant. I mean, this is a no-brainer. The guy literally was told, "Don't wave a gun on Instagram Live. Don't do it." And what does he do?
He does it again.
Exactly again.
Dummy.
That's why he is very high on this list, is because you just can't. It's stupid. It's quite stupid. And when you're told not to do something, you're not supposed to do it again. And the fact that he did that, and the fact that this had to happen again, I mean, this kid needs help. I mean, it's that simple. So, all right, number 1, dansnyder. You all know the deal. The guy's kind of a he's a jackass. I mean, we'll call it for what it is. dansnyder is not a good person. The Commanders organization before that with the Washington Redskins, I mean, pretty much what was a complete joke. He's run that franchise almost into the ground, and other people had to pick up the pieces. So what's this? Something Harris. I forget his first name. John Harris or something.
Josh Harris.
Okay. So you have those guys coming in. They'll actually they sound like they know how to run an organization. So
Let's hope.
that's good. Yeah, exactly. Let's hope. So that's my list. And Voldy, we've got some questions here. YouTube TV, what's the reason Sean Payton is leading the Broncos to the playoffs? Ew. No thanks.
Absurd statement worthy?
Yeah, it's possible. We'll have to write that down for
Write it down.
Here. We're going to write that down. Hackett was the worst head coach of all time. He's up there. Probably because of Bally for the YouTube TV. Yes, he probably was. YouTube TV is getting NFL Sunday Ticket or something like that. It's like the South Park special episode called Streaming Wars. There you go. All right, Voldy, give us your list and clear up this YouTube thing for
Yeah, so the YouTube TV, obviously, some have alluded to it as well. Not being able to watch, obviously, the Minnesota sports without having to go to another third-party situation. I haven't been able to watch the Twins, the Wild. Even if I wanted to watch the Timberwolves, if it wasn't on national television, wouldn't be able to do so. But there are some redeeming qualities, and thank you for the reminder that, yes, they will be getting NFL Sunday Ticket, so I will be able to watch the Patriots and also keep an eye on how Case Keenum is doing down in Houston for eventually when he takes over for C.J. Stroud and multiple points here throughout the season also. And so that's why they're at the number 10 spot. We'll see next time around how things kind of shape up for YouTube TV. At the number 9 spot, we still do have the Big Ten Conference. This spoils back to the era of the let's cancel the football season during COVID. Now let's play it late November into December and try to figure that out. Only because they wanted Ohio State to get into the Big Ten, into the national championship. That's why, if you wanted your best interest, then let Ohio State do what it wanted to. Don't worry about the conference. No. Let's throw it all together. Let's cancel and then restart the season, just to make everybody happy, so that way Ohio State could have made it to the national championship, which, they did their best bet, and, it didn't work out too well in the end for all that. At the number 8 spot, robmanfred is still on the list due to the fact that he is commissioner for Major League Baseball, but again, some more redeeming qualities continue to push things into a new light. The pitch clock institution as well, there were some headaches early on, still seem to be a few headaches, but the fact that we're going to lose the Oakland A's, they're going to move to Las Vegas, and we're still questioning whether or not other teams or other prospective cities like Nashville, Montreal, Salt Lake City, even in Charlotte as well, quite possibly be a Major League Baseball franchise, is still not putting him into a lot of good light. And the fact that Trevor Bauer is now pitching in the minors in Japan as opposed to pitching in the major leagues when he was cleared of all wrongdoing. Yes, the guy is a bit of a horse's ass, but you know what? Compared to some of the other guys that are in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame for literally beating their wives and doing drugs up the yin-yang, he's a choir boy compared to most of those guys too. But nonetheless, robmanfred at the number 8 spot. Now, this one was a bit of we went sideways on this one. Originally, it was the NFL media had at number 7 spot. I think they were number 6. We moved them down to 7. And the national sports media. Now, we go back to the football season talking about how the Vikings were the worst, whatever record team in NFL history. They don't deserve to be here. They have a weak schedule. They keep winning games literally in the last seconds and in overtime, and not giving the Vikings any credit for any of the work that they did, and basically boiling it over as a fluke. Now we segue into baseball season as well. The way the Twins were starting off the season as well, playing really well, pitching very well. Things kind of hit a couple of bumps along the way as well. Some hitting is not as strong as it was, but things are starting to come around in that area. And yet the national media wanted to put the Twins in any way, shape, and fashion in the cellar whatsoever. At one point, they compared them, the division leader in the AL Central, to being worse than the worst team in the AL East by one game. Like, literally, I'm sorry that the Twins are good in a weak division. I'm sorry the Yankees suck, and you still got to try to make them look good as possible as well, ESPN and everybody over on the East Coast. But at the same time, we can't help the Twins play in a bad division overall, while the Yankees are fighting their way out of the cellar as well. That's why the national sports media is at the number 7 spot. At the number 6 spot, yes, someone that will probably be most likely, we could probably talk more about next week in our Hall of Shame as well with Johnny Manziel, the career acolytes and, the accolades and the highlights and the lowlights. We go through that all next week. Hopefully that'll be our special segment with the Hall of Shame as well. Write it down now for next week too. It all really speaks for itself. Urbanmeyer as well at the number 5 spot, just the pure absurdity of his very brief NFL coaching stint and everything up to, afterwards, and anything and everywhere in between. Boy, when that University of Florida National Championship 30 for 30 comes out, that is going to be some must-see TV in many areas. Deshaun Watson, the number 4 spot, with everything that has happened the last 2 NFL seasons, him not playing, and then obviously him getting suspended and only a handful of games. Could quite possibly be somewhere in a redemption sort of tour here for Deshaun Watson in Cleveland this season. I don't know. Tough division, the AFC North right now with everybody else going on there too. Antoniobrown, and now with the latest with him too, of him owning an arena league team and basically not paying guys and basically telling them to kick rocks and so many PG words as well in a family household that I live in, and his mantra and him trying to weasel his way to play for the Baltimore Ravens this season too, and try to get on that wagon with Lamar Jackson and everybody. Probably not going to be happening as well. Probably a very bitter end to a good career that was for Antoniobrown. Jamorant in the 2 spot. I mean, like we talked about with you, Callahan. Obviously, you tell him not to do something, and he goes and do it 3 months later, and obviously his team's out of the playoffs. They've been done for a while, but still doing stupid things. Got suspended last time around. It'd be very interesting to see what happens this time to the length of the punishment that will be assessed to Jamorant in the upcoming season for the NBA. Dan Snyder, number 1 spot, another strong candidate for our Hall of Shame as well. But you know what? Hopefully, if not by the end of this season, or who knows, even the start of the season, we won't have to put up with it with much longer. And he'll be out the door. Josh Harris and crew coming in with the Washington Commanders, and hopefully new facilities for them, updated infrastructure, and hopefully a lot of good things come through with that and the new group that will be for the Washington football franchise as well. That's my top 10 and famous list as well.
Yeah, I think there's been people have some thoughts about our list, which is fine.
That's cool.
Alex says, I'm not scared, clip it, regarding the Broncos to the playoffs. And Cole's putting himself on that as well. I don't know, the AFC's pretty good. I mean, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs,
Ravens,
Chargers,
Dolphins.
Ravens, Dolphins, even Jets, if you want to throw in with that too. So they'd have to probably win the division at least, but I don't see them winning that division. So they'd have to sneak in as wild card. We have someone wanting to be added to a list.
Okay.
J-Man, Jared says, Brooks Koepka looking coked out at the hockey game should be an honorable mention here.
Yes, sir. Koepka is having a hell of a week. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, he's very good. I mean, love the guy or hate the guy.
Work hard, play hard, baby.
Yep. He gets it done. I give him credit. Please no. Or Dylan Brooks to the T-Wolves? No.
Dude.
I'm just going to say that right now. Absolutely not. If you think that he's going to, poke that whole thing, no. Don't want him. Don't need him. Don't need people dropping 40 points on us out of pure hate. Well, I mean, it's not pure hate. It's just, the T-Wolves. You could bet on McDaniels fracturing his hand again if they trade for Dylan Brooks. Yeah, that's true, too. Hopefully on Brooks' face. Yeah, there you go. Although, honestly, T-Wolves should start an underground fight club at this point. I guess. I mean, you got Kyle Anderson, you got Rudy Gobert taking swings, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So, here is the Rudy and Kyle Anderson to the WWE. Yeah, There you go. I
Love
like
it.
that too.
Gotta have it.
Here's our list one more time. Take a look. Let us know what you guys think. If you have any suggestions or if you want to make your own list, please send it to us. We'd love to see it. And maybe we'll add some of the people that you send us in. And in a ladder match. There you go. But for you guys that have tuned in, remember, we do have our shirt and hat giveaway and stickers as well. We will reveal that next week in honor of our 150th episode. So make sure you guys, let us know that if you want. I mean, you want free stuff. Obviously, who's ever tuned
You want
in,
free. I mean,
we're
we still
adding-
got
we're
other
adding-
stuff you can buy too.
Yep, and we're adding all these names to a list, and who knows? It might be you. So be on the lookout. All right, Voldy. That'll do it for Top 10 and Famous List. Let's move on to ARA. We might have to do a little speed round here with ARA, but I love it. I want to see Munson back on the air. Well, I keep telling him, let's go, man. But he's saying, oh, I got this going on tonight. I got that going on tonight.
He ain't got no kids. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with him. So anyway, let's get to some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it's time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, with the NBA going well into its last few weeks as well, I know the Eastern Conference Finals still up in the air right now, but the Western Conference will be represented by the Denver Nuggets as they swept, that's right, they swept the Los Angeles Lakers, and thus ending the 20th season for LeBron James in his career, and now brings up another point, 20 NBA seasons. Back half of his career, I don't know how many more runs he's got left in him as well. Comes down to the very bitter end with everything he's done in the NBA. He's won championships. He's gone from this place to that place, kind of steered the ship in many different areas. Now with LeBron finishing another year, being swept out of the playoffs, has LeBron done enough? And should he just retire from basketball just to be done with it?
Wow, I think this is a great ARA to start things off, I think, because we got a lot of basketball guys on here, too. So I'm curious to what their thoughts are as well. But Cole says, let me know, Matt. I'll be on next week. Got to combat these absurd statements. All right, great. So, Voldy, over Memorial Day, we'll work. If you're available, Cole, Memorial Day, we'll get that recorded. Alex says LaFlop won't retire. I kind of tend to agree. I tend to agree. Cole says in Famous, you might say LaFlop hasn't flopped his last flop. That's true. I think at this point in time, I think it would be abrupt if he retired. But should he? No, I think it's absurd. He's won titles. Does he want to win another? Of course. I mean, that's why he's with the Lakers. And, they made those trades. They got D'Lo, even though it seems like D'Lo didn't do as well with the Lakers and said he was held back with the Wolves and all that stuff. Well, we'll see. Well, that's another debate for another time. But, no, I don't think he will. And I think he wants to stay so that he can play with his son, or play against, or I don't know if the Lakers would really,
It'd have to be real bad next
chips.
year.
Yeah, it would. So I think he wants to play with his son, and then I think eventually, then after that, maybe after a season, he'll be out. But I don't see him retiring. I think he loves it too much. But I think that time is somewhat becoming realistic soon. So we'll see. But he wants to play with the kid. Yeah, exactly. So Alex agrees. LaCroix will play with his kid for 1 year and then retire. Yep, That's what I said. So perfect. LeBrick has 2 more years yet, says Cole. He won't win a title with the Lakers. AD has no heart or ankles. That's true. I think Voldy could have a shot. Could have a shot better than him from 3 in the Western Conference Finals.
Wow. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but I'll take it nonetheless.
I think it's a compliment. That's just me.
I sure hope so.
Voldy, I think it's absurd. I think he's going to play a couple more years here. So.
Yeah, I think he's got maybe 1-2 more seasons. Obviously, he wants to play with the kid and whatever, and play against, nonetheless, be on the same court with him at the same time at the highest level that is possible for the two of them to play at. I mean, I just don't see him retiring right now. Then again, same thing could have been said with Tom Brady. He retired, then he came back, and now he's retired again. At least that's what's going on as of late. I don't think he's going to retire. No, I think he'll take some time here, think things over, and obviously he'll come to a full decision. And in this case, no news would be good news in that regard, and he'll just enter another season with the Lakers and hopefully have everything set up in place to where he can again still be at that high enough level for him to compete.
Yep. So we'll see, but yeah, I'd be shocked if he retired. I'd
me too.
Be shocked. But here's the real question: is LaFlop's kid good enough to get drafted into the NBA? I guess we'll find out.
Lonzo Ball was good enough to get drafted.
That's a good point. Injuries and stuff with them, but at the same time, too, I just think that LeVar overhyped these kids.
Oh,
That's all I think. That's all I got to say. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, it comes to be that Tom Brady, speaking of Tom Brady, he's back in the NFL, not playing as it currently stands as Las Vegas Raiders, and the future first ballot Hall of Famer Tom Brady came to an agreement that Tom Brady will be joining the organizational group pending NFL approval as a limited partner as well. Now, this, of course, will not, fully mess things up, or at least keep things in perspective with him jumping into the broadcasting booth. Not this season, but looks like next season it will be for Tom Brady, as he'll be taking some time away from the game itself. But it does throw an interesting wrench into everything as well, because Brady's already got a stake with the Las Vegas Aces ownership group as well. Something about Vegas is really caught the eye of Tom Brady. And with that being said, of course, the Raiders have been a team the last few seasons where they have the hopes and dreams of hopefully getting into a good enough rhythm to maybe contend in the AFC West, and then they just completely falter and end up not doing so well in the back half of the season. But with that all being said, with Tom Brady now in this ownership group, is it absurd or prove that this will maybe hopefully propel the Raiders into winning, if not in winning anything more than just a handful of games this season?
Well, I won't say this season they're going to be like that, because I mean, yeah, you add Jimmy Garoppolo, you get rid of Derek Carr, Devontae's with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know how I feel about that. Josh McDaniels, I'm not 100% sold on him either. But I also know too that with Brady being in the vicinity and being able to oversee some things, obviously, I think with his ownership, I think it's going to be a little bit easier. Exactly. I mean, I agree, Alex. The Raiders will still be terrible. I think this year, we'll see, but it depends on how big of a voice he will have with this organization. Right. And is it something to where, okay, is this more of a business move? Is this fine? Okay, maybe it is. But if he wants to be involved and whatnot, I would say, I'm going to say absurd, because this doesn't speak to me as, oh, Brady's coming in as let's just say as a GM or something like that, or like a high-ranking official on the team. But I think they could get some insight on this too. There's no guarantee that Brady is going to be just awesome for this and whatnot, because he probably will, because it is Tom Brady. But I would be kind of skeptical. So I'm going to say absurd because we don't know how involved he is in on this. But knowing that him and Josh McDaniels know each other quite well, I think it could very well work. So I'm going to say absurd. That's how I'm going to work it for now, but that could definitely change after next year. The only winning they will be doing is the first overall pick. Yeah, it's very possible. Better record, Raiders or Texans?
Ooh.
I like that. That's good.
Texans.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that, too. I'm going to go with
Case
that.
Keenum effect. Everybody knows that.
Boom.
Teams get better when they have Case
You know
Keenum
it.
on the roster.
So,
Prove me
Voldy, what do
wrong.
you got?
Prove me wrong. Talking about with Tom Brady now joining the fold, boy, the Raiders franchise just continues to be a harborer for former New England Patriots to go basically die, for lack of a better term now. Looking at the overall makeup of some of these key players that have joined Josh McDaniels, former offensive coordinator for the Patriots, does include GM Dave Ziegler, quarterbacks Jimmy Garoppolo, and Ryan Hoyer as well. Hoyer's heroes joining the fray. Chandler Jones, Brandon Bolden, Jakob Johnson out of Germany, and even Jacoby Myers and Philip Dorsett are now wearing the silver and gold for the silver and black. I don't know why I said silver and gold. Silver and black for the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't really think this is going to have much of an impact on the field. Maybe this is just more of a situation to maybe in the future that maybe Brady will have more interest in quite possibly buying a little bit more controlling of a franchise as well. Obviously, him getting a little bit more solidified. Who knows? Maybe when the baseball team comes to town as well, the A's, he'll have a stake in that squad as well because he was a heck of a baseball player back in the day too. Got drafted by the Montreal Expos as a catcher. Did Tom Brady? I don't really think that they're going to have much success this year. AFC West nearly impossible to get out of with any wins because you're looking up at obviously in Vegas, Kansas City, you got Denver, and then you also got, who am I forgetting?
Chargers.
Vegas. Chargers, yeah. See, at least two of those teams are going to be vying for obviously the division and maybe a wild card spot because the Chargers, are looking much better as well when they're fully healthy, along with, of course, the defending Super Bowl champions they have to face twice, that being with the Vegas Raiders. It's a lose-lose situation, unfortunately, as well, but I think hopefully there'll be a little bit more return on investment when it comes for Brady buying a stock. I just don't see them winning. I think it's going to be absurd on my part.
As much as you hate to say it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. But we'll go from there. From one thing that we hated to do to some team that we don't like at all. Next one, Voldy.
Yeah, well, the NFL and the draft is going to be heading to the smallest city in the NFL landscape. That's right. 2025 NFL draft will be heading to Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's right. They're going to be hosting the draft coming up here in 2 years' time as well. Certainly makes it very interesting because of the fact that, well, Minnesota hasn't even hosted the draft yet, and yet Green Bay is going to host it, an outdoor event, as opposed to, a nice brand new stadium that's been around, that's already hosted a Super Bowl and many other large events, but yet has not hosted the NFL draft. Is it absurd or approved with the, last couple of years been an outdoor spectacle when it comes to the NFL draft? This will be anything short of a spectacle, even though it's going to be held in Green Bay.
Okay, so I'm going to push my Packer hatred aside for a second because how is this going to work? I mean, I've actually been to Lambeau Field. Maybe they probably have made some upgrades and things like that.
Right.
But how is that going to work? I mean, are you going to have a place in a park? You have the parking lot and whatnot, but everything else, I mean, is it going to be in the stadium? Is it going to be in, in the parking lot? Like, because there's houses all around that stadium.
Feel bad for those people.
So how is that going to work? How are they going to be able to get? I mean, there's all these events that go on even before the actual draft.
Yep.
So I don't know how they're going to do it. That's my thing. But the fact that they're having the draft in Green Bay is just absurd in general. Just because, why out of all the places you choose the most disgusting, absolutely terrible. I am so mean, but it's like it doesn't make sense. And the place that you should hold it is Minneapolis. I mean, there's more room. There's enough. There's enough places to, to do that. And now they're going to use Green Bay. I'm curious to see how they how they'll do it. And the thing is, Voldy, you have in here, is it going to be any sort of spectacle? No, it's not. I mean, we're going to Green Bay for the draft. Oh, joy. That's going to be fun. Like, what draft picks are going to be like, oh, yay, I get to go to Green Bay? Like,
middle of nowhere, Wisconsin.
Yeah. I mean,
no
no one wants to go there. So, we'll go with that. We'll get to the chat in a second here. There's a lot of stuff happening on here. But, yeah, I think it's absurd. It's not going to be a spectacle. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I've been to Green Bay. I've been near Lambeau Field and kind of surrounding it as well. Not really. I mean, it's been a number of years. Obviously, they've made some improvements. I mean, they tried to put the bid in a handful of years ago as well, but they needed more hotels, restaurants, and exhibition space as well. When I went there, this was at least almost a decade ago, too. So, I mean, there was, there was the hockey arena, the Resch Center that is across from Lambeau as well. Big open parking lot, lots of homes, few restaurants, but things probably have improved since the last time I was over there, I should say, in Green Bay. But I mean, the fact that Green Bay gets it before U.S. Bank Stadium and Minneapolis, it's a bit of an insult. Again, national media not want to give Minnesota credit for anything whatsoever. Let's go with one of the oldest franchise in the NFL, to make them happy. But not the smart move as well. But, Detroit's getting the draft next year as well. So, hopefully everybody makes it out safe and alive out of Detroit with the NFL draft too. So, is it going to be a spectacle? No. NFL is going to try and do everything that they can to make it look good. But in all reality, probably not going to hold a candle to what the last few have been. And probably for the future as well, this will just be another black mark for the NFL as well in their book. But, no, I don't think it's going to be special in any way.
Green Bay is still Green Bay. You can't.
Yep.
You can polish a turd all you want. It's still a turd.
Exactly.
Had to use that. But, all right, last one, Voldy.
Well, with the NFL owners and everybody convening most recently, which is taking place in Minneapolis, believe it or not, for the spring meetings and everything, the competition committee did come together as well and came up with a new solution as well of quite possibly flexing a limited number of late season Thursday night football games on Amazon, according to a resolution that was approved in a close vote going on this week at the NFL owners meetings down in Minneapolis as well. So the resolution passed with approval of the votes that needed the minimum that will go in effect on a trial basis this season. If no Thursday night games are flexed, there will be a resolution to carry over into 2024's season as well. An earlier version of the proposal was tabled back in March as well to probably provide a little bit more clarity on that as well. But with that being said, so the resolution itself, here's how it's going to work. So basically, the league will allow to flip a Sunday afternoon game into a Thursday night and move the originally scheduled game to Sunday afternoon from weeks 13 through 17. So it has to be filed no later than 24 days. So 28 days, I should say. So basically 4 weeks ahead as well. So that way things can be shifted, proposed as well, and moved in that regard. No team will be required to flex a Thursday night game more than one time, and the maximum number will be 2 per team as well. So a lot of these teams that will be probably looking at the back end of a terrible season will not have that to really rely on as well. So looking at the rule itself for the movement of Thursday night games, is it absurd or approved? Will this rule provide more exciting, if not more intriguing matchups, especially as we go into the last 4 weeks of the season?
So here's the one thing that I will say, yeah, there's probably going to be more intriguing matchups, which is fine. And yeah, I've always said too with this whole thing with Thursday night football. I mean, I hate it, to be honest with you. Just because I don't. I mean, yeah, it's great having that extra day of football and whatnot. But yeah, the matchups aren't the best, and people have voiced their opinion on that. But I also want to add to it. I mean, how many different games are you going to put on these streaming services? I mean, it's like, oh, Amazon Prime. Oh, now there's going to be one on Peacock. Like, I don't give a crap, Like, I just put it on, whatever you put it on, and go from there. Yep. I mean, I know streaming's obviously the way to go for a long time now, but I just think they're just forcing it down our throats, saying, watch these Thursday night games. They're so important. You got to watch these. Oh, my God. No. I mean, the thing is no one wants to sit down on a Thursday night and depend. Well, I mean, if it's like Thanksgiving, like I like that. Like that, that's fine. But just a random Thursday, you sit down and it's like, there's football on, but this is the crappiest matchup. I don't want to watch we'll just kind of say at the time now, because, I mean, both these teams have vastly improved. But I don't want to watch the Jets and the Jags, okay, on Thursday night football. And that's no offense to the teams, because they've vastly improved. But, like, I don't care. And the matchups, aren't very good, but them flexing some of this stuff is fine with me. I'm glad, because now people will be like, oh, good, this is actually a good game I want to watch. I think there was one time there was the Chiefs and the Chargers, and it was fantastic. You have to have more of that if that's what you want to keep Thursday night football. Obviously, I've said I'm not a fan of it, but yeah, I'll give it my stamp of approval, because I think there's going to be better matchups. But good Lord, I'm still not a fan of Thursday night football. That's just me. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Another question to bring up with this, too, and something that I've been thinking about over the last couple of years, too, is would we have all these streaming services if COVID never happened? Now, that's a question that gets into a whole nother topic to begin with as well. But talking about the flexing of these games, too, absolutely. I think this is a smart move as well, because, especially when you go from a Sunday into a Thursday, especially those weeks as well, where maybe you're having a lot more divisional games and you're going to be needing a lot to win a lot more of those games to make it make your playoff chances that much better. But if we get, like Bills, Dolphins, week 14, they're at the top of the division, or they're vying for that divisional top, I want to watch that on a Thursday night. But if that gets flexed to maybe Sunday night, I think a lot more people are going to watch that as well. But I don't want to watch, Houston, Atlanta on a Thursday night. There's an argument that can be made with the Thursday night games. Like, yes, I think they're kind of dumb. They're kind of overrated, other than obviously the Thursday for Thanksgiving. And then you start getting into some of the more trickier ones with like Christmas, and then that Saturday as well with football too after Thanksgiving. And now they're going to have a game on Black Friday as well. That'll be on, was that one going to be on Peacock, I think, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But again, why do we need all these streaming services, to begin with as well? I can see it from the standpoint of, obviously, the NFL is trying to make more money, but you know what? You would think the bread and butter would be enough to begin with, but they're going to try everything they can to squeeze every cent out of that last penny that they've got to, get as much as they can out of everybody's pockets too. But I think the flexing is going to be especially helpful for a lot of teams that may be banged up towards the back half of the season, and teams that will be, agreeable to say, hey, let's take our Thursday game. Let's flop it to a Sunday afternoon. That way we'll all be happy. And then I just feel bad for the next person that's going to be like, all right, now we're going to go from Sunday afternoon to Thursday night. That's a quick turnaround for a lot of people. But you know what? It's got my stamp of approval.
We'll go with that. Hopefully it does well for this season, and we can stop complaining about it.
Hopefully.
There's been a lot of talk. Cole and Alex have been having this whole conversation. They've been chiming in. It's great. I love it too. And, mentioning this, these games and whatnot, I think this sums it up pretty well. Cole made a really good point here. That Broncos-Colts game from last year might have been the worst football game I've ever seen. Surprise, surprise, Thursday night game. And he's right. He's absolutely 1,000% correct on that. That was a terrible game to watch because I did have fantasy football implications on that game.
Yes.
I mean, not that anybody cares, but like it's come on. I mean, that was Nick Foles was absolutely awful. He's a complete shell of himself after the one season with the Philadelphia Eagles. And, Alex says I want to jump off a cliff. Terrible game. So, yeah, it was bad. It was a bad game. So, anyway, with that being said, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. And we got some Shield shout-outs. There's been some retirements that have been happening, and a lot of them you'd probably know. So, let's get it going with some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, first I've got to give a quick Shield shout out as well. Check out the Cap Vancouver Canadians hat as well for our guy, friend of the show, Coach Joel Bonnet. Hopefully we can get an update from him. If not, another chance to catch up, see what's going on with the Canadians as of late here out of the Toronto Blue Jays organization. Just have to represent a little bit, just a recent purchase that I made. But we do have to give a Shield shout out to, well, the end of a generational player, that being Carmelo Anthony, the real Melo, as he announced his retirement after 19 seasons in the NBA, spanning, again, all the way, 2003 draft as well. And that just leaves LeBron James the last guy in that draft that is still active to this day. Of course, Carmelo making his way through as a college national champion with Syracuse, playing in, he played in Denver, he played with New York, played with the Lakers, played with Portland for a hot second as well, too. But great player all around, fun to watch. Carmelo Anthony hangs him up as he retires after 19 seasons in the NBA. And I do also have to send a happy early anniversary. It will mark 6 years together with creative consultant and two-time Mom of the Year, that being Mrs. Sarah Ann Tewsfold. She's sitting 10 feet away from me. I don't know if she can hear me or not. She's got her earbuds in. But nonetheless, happy early anniversary, as we will actually be able to spend time together on our anniversary for once in a couple of years, too. But nonetheless, happy early anniversary to her. That's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
I love it. Congratulations, if I don't
Thank you.
Get there. And a lot of talk about Melo here. Nuggets legend Melo. Yeah, I really liked Melo when he was with the Nuggets. I really enjoyed watching him play. Even with the Knicks, too. I just kind of he was still very good, but unfortunately,
I just always thought he played for the Knicks for like half a second. Everybody was just losing their gall darn minds when he went to the Knicks, and but he was there for like half a season, but it was like much longer than that.
Yeah.
So. Well,
I did say that the Knicks would be the next dynasty, and you can nominate for that for absurd statements. So that was that was back in my high school years. Okay, it was a long time ago. True. It is what it is. Alex, I take it he is a Denver fan, still salty when he forced his way out of Denver. Yeah, he did. I mean, he had AI for a hot second. Remember that? Some
bad teams. Yeah. Bad teams out in Denver.
That too, yep. Heard someone say that 15 should be double retired for the Nuggets with both Melo and Jokic. True. Jokic brought the Nuggets to the finals. Melo could never. Western Conference Finals, though. So I guess that's up for debate.
Yeah, but Melo took him out of the cellar, so.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Melo was a heck. Oh, my gosh. The shots that he made from three, from just outside, I mean, he's so good. And even at Syracuse, when he was at Syracuse, he was good with Boeheim.
I will go on record saying this, Melo with the braids, better than Melo without the braids.
Ooh, and that's a good one, man. Or Hoodie Melo. Now, that went viral, and he was quite good with Hoodie Melo. So check that out, too. I loved how that blew up, too. If they want to retire the number for both, then Melo's name should be smaller than Jokic's name. All right. Well, I don't know. You guys figure it out. I don't know. But with that being said, we have the giveaway. We got the merch and whatnot. If you want to enter, or you guys have pretty much entered a chance to win, you guys could possibly win next week. So we will do that next week in honor of our 150th episode of MinneZona. And we got the stickers, we've got the hats, we got the shirts, and you guys know the prices for them already. If you just want to buy it right away, go right ahead. We got them for you. So you guys know the prices, you know the dealios. So check it out. Check out W2 Performance. Our guy, Will Rattel, at www.w2performance.com. Posts videos daily, stuff like that. Make sure you check him out. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And thank you to the victorious P.O.D. Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. Fantasy football stuff starting to ramp up a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. So make sure you guys check that out. And then make sure you check out on the social medias our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr., TLS Performance. Obviously, that's all the way in Texas. But if you want to get right, he's got meals. He preps meals. He's just doing great. I still think he should be in the NFL. I think he should play for our Minnesota Vikings, so we will be contacting Kevin O'Connell about that. But we will see. But it's so good. But great 150th episode, Voldy. Zoners, thank you. That was absolutely fun. That was a great show, and we appreciate you guys. And, gosh, it's still going. J.R. Smith with those threes were nice. Oh, yeah, J.R. Smith was good with the Nuggets. He and AI were the biggest ball hawks. Well, it's true. I mean, two superstars, right? Good show, boys. Appreciate it, Cole. And we'll be talking to you soon. Cavs, J.R. Smith was a legend when he knew what the score was. Just saying.
When he had a shirt on, too.
Yeah, when he had a shirt on and didn't look stoned out of his mind.
True.
So, all right, that'll do it for episode 150. And as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.